Um, Hey everybody, welcome to the Sighted to Sightless podcast. Recording an episode here without Clint, and we're having to do it straight audio. Cody will be hopefully putting in something that, is like our logo or something like that. He's the video editing wizard, guru, slobber knocker, I don't know, whatever you want to call him. Um, but it is very difficult because Clint usually has the questions and he's sitting across the room from me, and I don't need to use a computer or my phone in order to hear like notes or things like that. So I'm having to do this audio because I need to hear what's going on the computer. Um, this episode is brought to you by Stumpy Security Agency. He is based out of Wisconsin. Again, Stumpy, I apologize if I'm getting any of this wrong. Clint usually has the notes, and well, he has lots of other bad failures, but you know him. Be sure to check out him on Facebook, check out his security agency. And remember, just because he has one leg does not mean that he doesn't have 2 feet in the security business. With me today is best friend, brother, I don't know what you want to call it. But I know that we are family that are not blood related. Jesse has been blind since birth. I think his mama dropped him on the head on his head, but I'm not 100% sure there. So we're gonna get a different perspective here when it comes to blindness. As you all know who have listened to the podcast, and I do believe this is episode 7. I lost my sight, so I had sight from that whenever I was born to the age of 17. Jesse here has been blind since birth. So, Jesse, give us a brief introduction of yourself.
Hi, everybody. I think another way Richard would describe me is based on podcasts we've done, annoying.
Yes.
Yes, I've been blind my whole life. I was, I think, 3 months premature, something like that. And my mom did not drop me on my head, but she always tells this story that she was having labor pains. And she called her doctor. Her doctor was on vacation. So there was another doctor that was on call. And their quote to her was, "Sit down and have some wine, you'll be fine." And she knew she wouldn't be fine. So they went in the hospital and she wasn't fine. So apparently they wanted me to be come out of my mom being alcohol dependent. My mom's not even a drinker, but they're like, just put your feet up and have some wine. So that was pretty crazy. And yeah, yes, I've been blind my whole life. I think I was actually like I had some vision till like 3 months or something like that, but of course I don't remember it. When I was younger, I had light perception. I've had that a little bit, but I've lost it some. And for some reason, when I was real little, they wanted me to wear those giant thick glasses that people wear. I don't know how they thought that would help me, but till I was like 5 years old, you could see all these pictures of me with those giant, like, I don't know if you know what I mean, but they're like giant plastic glasses.
Like Coke bottle glasses or like the typical blind person glasses?
Um, you know what? I really don't know. I
Because
don't think they were actually, I think they're, I don't know if you'd call them sunglasses, but they like had giant lenses. Maybe they were Coke bottle then.
cause I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Like they thought it would help you see better.
Yep.
So yeah, probably basically those size glasses is what I'm picturing in my head,
Okay.
but with like prescription lenses.
They did nothing. Obviously.
Obviously. Yep. But Jesse and I have been friends for what, roughly 6 months, and then after that it was brothers.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember the moment. I mean, we got along. but the moment that, like, we really connected was when we found out how much we both loved Christmas. I feel like that's the thing that connected us, is our love for Christmas Vacation, the movie.
Oh, it's the best Christmas movie ever.
Yep, I
I mean,
agree.
without a doubt. Uh, but I believe next month will be 5 years.
Isn't that crazy?
It was a week after your birthday. I
Oh,
remember
was it? I
that.
didn't even know that.
Yes, because you missed the first session I ever
Oh, that's
had.
right. Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
because you had a going out for your birthday.
Yeah.
And the years I don't remember. I just remember it being a week after your birthday, and I think it's been 5. Hard to
It does not
believe.
seem that, like, it seems longer, but it doesn't seem longer, if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, putting up with me, I mean, adds stress to people's life, you know?
Oh, I do you swear on this show or not?
No.
Okay. I thought he was an a-hole when I first met him. That was my first thought to my, because I still live with my parents, and he was running the Dungeons and Dragons group, the campaign for us. And when I first met him, the first thing I said to my mom when we were over, when it was over, I was like, "He is an a-hole."
And I am. You know, or at least that's how people
Well, now I say it lovingly, but back then I was like this.
well, that's how people usually I won't say identify, describe me because I'm very blunt.
Yep.
Um, I tell you what I'm thinking.
I mean, you
Well,
hide who you were, that's for sure.
right, because there's no point in it.
Right. I agree.
And, you know, the longer that we've gotten to know each other, the more you've understood how I
Yeah.
am that,
Oh yeah.
you know, I'm going to be the same no matter where I am. But the podcast listeners have learned that about me by now,
Mhm.
those that listened. So we want to talk to you a little bit here today and find out your perspective. As you know, people know I lost my sight at 17 due to a car wreck, which we are going over in the podcast. But you have been a lifelong blind person.
Yes.
Um, I want to start off and pretty much we both know the answers to these questions because we've talked about them.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, for the listeners here and the different perspective,
Sure.
do you prefer the term blind or visually impaired?
I prefer blind because whenever I remember when I was in high school, I had a mobility teacher that had me go. She wanted me to do my own shopping, like go into a grocery store and say, I need assistance, like if I was by myself. So she always said, "Say you're visually impaired." No one understood what I meant because I think they all thought visually impaired was I could see some. But when I said I'm totally blind, they're like, "Oh, okay." Like I think when people hear visually impaired, they think kind of like legally blind is how I've always seen it. So I always just say totally blind or just blind.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Visually impaired means impaired means you have something
Yeah.
there. Um, you know, like say you get drunk, you're impaired by alcohol. You can still move around,
Right.
but it's not as good. To me, blindness, well, as you know, I'm blunt. Blind is blunt. You know,
Or as a drunk man told me one time at a concert when he's like, "Oh, is he blind?" His words were, "Is he a full blind?" So I go around now saying I'm full blind just because it
yeah,
was funny to me.
and I like that too. The thing is, to both of us, the term visually impaired implies,
Low vision.
yeah, there's something there, whether you can see a pinhole or you can see just periphery or, you know, shapes and colors. There's
And I think that's how
something
most
there.
people see it. Like most, I don't want to say regular people, because most sighted people see it.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm blind.
I won't say it's a misnomer, but it is very misleading
It's
in
just
other words.
complicated, I think,
Yeah,
using.
and I'm a simple person. I like to keep it simple. I don't want to walk into a store and say, "Hey, I'm visually impaired."
Yeah, it was like this whole paragraph that I had to say, and I'm like, No.
No, I mean, why add all that extra effort? Walking, hey, I'm blind. Okay, we got you. We got you.
'Cause
We
she was like,
understand that.
"Hi, my name is Jesse. I'm visually impaired and I need assistance shop." It's just like, "No, you look like a weirdo, dude."
Yeah, I mean, just walk in and say it. Don't hem haul around the situation. Just boom, here it is. This is what it is.
I mean, I'm a 6'3" dude with a cane. I stick out enough. Like, I don't need to stick out like a sore thumb based on what I'm saying.
Oh, and and that's kind of like me. I mean, I don't walk with a cane. We'll get into that because that's another question here in a minute. I mean, I'm scarred. My left eye doesn't blink. I'm short. I'm thinking,
No.
no, it don't because of all the nerve damage and everything.
Oh.
Um, I stick out enough as it is. I mean, and I have a scar running from one side of my head to the other. I stick out enough. I don't need to.
We wanna stick out less.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jesse and myself prefer to blend in with other
Yep.
people. I mean, it's hard enough as a blind person to blend in with other people, but then whenever we go and start making a scene trying to describe something, it makes it even worse. And I personally hate standing out. I'm a fringe person. I'm kind of like in the shadows.
Right. One of the things I always said, and it was never because I don't feel funny being blind, anything like that at all. But I've always described myself to people as I'm a blind person or I'm a sighted person in a blind person's body. That's how I've always seen it because that's how kind of like I was raised with my cousins and they didn't see me as any different. So I just in a way grew up like them.
Right. I mean, and I 100% understand that. Um, and while I didn't grow up blind,
Right.
I
It
had
has
to
to be
grow
how
up.
you are too though.
Right.
Because you grew up sighted, so you're still the same. It's just this one thing that is
But
different.
at the same time, I had to learn to be blind
Yep.
really quickly, and that's not always an easy thing to
Oh,
do.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Um, so, and I'm assuming, Jesse, you probably know more blind people than I do.
I really don't, to be honest with you. Everyone thinks that, like, people have said that to me, but no, I don't really that I don't I could probably count on one hand the amount of blind people I actually know, because I don't
I
it's like,
see that
I'm
a
not
few people.
behind all that.
Um, but and we'll get other, you know, I'll get
Mhm.
other guests on here because we'll have episodes like this whenever Clint's life is busy.
Yeah,
Um, Different people are going to feel differently about that question. Some will prefer the term visually impaired. Some will prefer the term blind. It's an individual thing. It's like somebody who's overweight. Do they prefer to be called fat? Do they prefer to be called big boned? Or do they prefer, they're obese?
well, I'm white, so I just go with fat.
Yeah, me too. I mean, they're all saying the same thing, but
Right, right.
just like sighted people have different preferences,
Mm.
so do blind people. And, it's like I tend to say to people, I'm the same as you are, except I can't see.
That's how I see it as well. Like, I'd be the same exact person, just my eyes don't work. Like, I've actually told little kids before when they're like, "Oh, you know, you don't have eyes." I'm like, "No, I have eyes, they just don't work."
Yeah, they're on the fritz.
Yeah, because the little kids don't know what blind means, you know?
Right. And that's part of the reason for this podcast is to hopefully educate people, about our condition. Like we're both the same way. We're both blind. We just happen to get there differently.
Right.
It doesn't change the fact we're both blind. It's
No.
just the the origin of the story is different. But you talked about walking into a grocery store
Mhm.
and shopping, and it would be the same as if you walked into a clothing store or
Right,
something like
right.
that.
They just use grocery stores that
Yeah. Me personally, I prefer to walk with someone. again, it goes back to the fact I don't want to stand out. I don't like the canes. I can use one. I just don't like them. They, for lack of a better explanation, make me look blind. And I know my attitude, Jesse does, Clint knows. If I were to get upset with like a sales associate, I might accidentally walk into them with the cane, like kind of hard, probably up against the head or shins, which would be more painful. Perhaps even between the legs if it was a,
And the cane would probably break because those things are flimsy.
yeah, especially the collapsible ones, if they don't
Mhm.
connect solidly enough.
Yep.
But then think about it, Jess, you have a nunchuck and just spin it over your head, like a helicopter. So, but you have walked with a cane a lot more than I have. I'm a sighted guide person. That's just my preference. And again, I've talked to some blind people who say, "Well, that don't make me feel independent." That's fine. That's fine. That's your prerogative.
Right.
That's your choice. And the thing is, we all have a choice.
Yeah.
Whatever. And this is what I've learned through life, whether sighted or sightless, is do what makes you feel comfortable. And walking with someone makes me feel comfortable. But do us a favor here and explain like how you navigate, like say in your home and in the store with a cane if you don't have a sighted guide.
Well, for me, I'm kind of like you. I mean, I take the cane, I use the cane, but I'm always sighted guide because, like, I always have someone with me. I'm very now never by myself. So, like, some people would see it as independence because they're alone a lot. I never am. And I had a mobility teacher tell me once, he said, if you're with someone, he's like, go set a guide. He's like, only use the cane when you have to. He's like, because you have to worry about enough things. Like, he's like, let that be something you don't worry about if you're with someone. But I learned to use the cane when I was little. I think I was 4 when I started. And I didn't use it right for the first year of my life, or my first year using it. I held it up straight in the air. It did me no good. But
Poke somebody in the eye.
it's funny though, for me, even if I'm walking beside a guy with, say, Katie or whoever, I still feel more sure of myself if I have the cane like out in front of me. Like, even though they'll tell me about curbs and things like that, as I get older, I found myself being more unsure. And that might be because of the MS. I don't really know. But
Right.
if I if I'm walking by myself, say completely by myself like you are, and that works for you, but I would feel so unsure. The cane gives me security. Even though it's flimsy and would fall, there's still something about having it for me. Like it's almost
It's
Robert.
comfort.
Yeah, it would almost be like I'd say for a blind or for a sighted person walking with their eyes closed is how if I didn't have it.
And I mean, and you touched on it just for a second. And,
Mhm.
while this podcast is mostly about me, this quote unquote mini series or whatever is about others.
Right.
You said that I'm very confident, and I personally take that as a compliment,
Oh
Jesse.
yeah.
I'm very sure of myself. I'm very confident in myself in most regards, and we'll get to that in a little bit later in this podcast.
When I was a kid though, my mom said you would go anywhere. And like now I find myself more cautious than I was when I was little. I'd be going, next door playing with that we had like this, it was small, but to me it was like this big, like this the house beside us had like this curb and you could go down. It was kind of like a curb, but there was like sticks down there. It was like a I always thought it was a little forest. Basically, I think it wasn't at all. It was just like a step down into their yard or whatever. But I would do everything. And like now I wouldn't be caught dead like adventuring like I did when I was little.
And Me, I mean, depending on the location, like if I'm on a cruise or I'm at a theme park or something like that, I don't venture out a whole lot, but
Right.
and I don't do it a whole lot in the stores either. Mostly because Shannon will yell at me, and I don't like to be yelled at by Shannon. But
I haven't met her, but I wouldn't want to be. I don't like to be yelled at by Kate. I just don't like to be yelled at by women. Period. And it's nothing to do with women at all. It's just the
oh,
way
it's
that they
different than
yell.
being yelled at by a man.
Yes, when a woman yells at you, it's with their whole soul.
Yes. Yes, it is. I mean, and like I said, I love Shannon. I mean,
Right.
she's my sister, and you know that I hang out with her,
Oh yeah.
all the time.
Which that's cool. I don't know if she listens or not, but
Probably not.
I was. It's cool though that like she'll say, "Oh, you're gonna cut." Like she thinks nothing of you going with her to things. Like it's not like trouble for her. Oh, I got to take the blind person. You know what I mean? Like it's she's just cool with it all. I think
Yeah.
that's nice.
Well, and she'll get upset, like, if I was like, "Nah, I just wanna, sit
Yeah.
at the house." Like,
Right.
for instance, the other day, she treated herself to um, the foot thing, pedicure.
Pedicure.
Yeah.
You said that one.
N no,
Oh,
not
they
with my
say hair men get them.
they do, but, doctors say you cannot tickle yourself. I can. I mean, my
I'm doing
foot
it to my foot right now, and I feel it.
when they say you can't, I know I can.
I wonder what that says about us. Then there's something wrong with us.
We're blind. That's what it says about us. Only blind people can tickle themselves, I guess.
You made a point earlier that I wanted to go back to.
Uh-huh.
You said, "How do I walk around the house?" I do not use the cane in the house.
That's what I was fixing to get to.
Yep.
Um, like, your house. I know
Right.
my house. I know, like, Clinton Shannon's house where I'm comfortable going.
When I was little, I knew my grandma's house and my aunt's house, so I didn't use it there either. Like just places you know.
And I know where I'm comfortable going, like, at my friend Corey and Amy's house. And what I mean by comfortable going, I don't know their bedroom. I don't know their kids' bedrooms.
Yeah.
That's their personal space. I'm not ever gonna go in there. I need to know how to get there so that I don't
Yeah.
accidentally go into
You basically need to go to the know how to go to the bathroom.
right. But, you know, back to, like, being confident, that's a lot. If you're more comfortable with a cane, use a cane. If you're not comfortable using the cane,
Don't use it.
don't use it. I mean, do what makes you comfortable. And, that's all in this question here is, like, how do we navigate? Um, and another reason that I personally don't use a cane is because I have no eardrum in my left ear due to
Mm.
the damage. So, I mean, I would have to turn my head, and
Are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed. Before I lost my sight, I could sign and write
Oh.
certain things with my left hand.
Oh, okay.
But my dad was ambidextrous and could write equally poorly with both hands. Um, but
We had that doctor's handwriting then.
that's what I do. I mean, my
Yeah.
handwriting, my signature has changed a lot since I my
Horrible. I just make a mark.
well, I mean,
They
I
had to
signed
teach
my
me.
name,
Well, you would know. They tried to teach me, and it just for some reason just never. I could never grasp it.
and I get that. Not being able to see it, it probably is
It was a big thing as a teenager that they were really trying to hammer it home, and I'm just like,
right. I mean, because most people sign stuff. What you could do is get like one of those ink pads, make sure you sign your name good one time and get an ink pad of it if you need to sign it.
that's what I did for yearbooks when I was older. Everybody wanted me to sign it because I had a stamp.
Oh, you were the cool kid with the stamps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you wouldn't. People that I never talked to in my life were like around my desk. I'm like, okay,
You were the cool kid.
it was,
Um,
yeah,
but again, when it comes to navigating, and just like a sighted person, do what makes you comfortable. Some of them are not
right.
comfortable driving. Some of them are. Do
Yeah.
whatever makes you personally comfortable. And again, there's going to be people who are different. There's. and I'll keep repeating this throughout this specific episode and all future episodes, everybody's going to be different. Everybody, that's just life. Um, but you talked about going to school, and I went to public school as a sighted person. Then I went to not university, but technical school
Mhm.
as a sightless person, blind person.
Yep.
Um, that brings up this question here is, can blind people use smartphones and computers?
Yes, because and you would know this, but, like, the iPhone has the Android does as well, has a built-in screen reader that'll read us the screen. Now for computers, you'll have to download something. There's a free one out there or buy JAWS, which is expensive as shit. Well, not now, I guess they did that.
Yeah, you can get it for a year for $90 a year. Yeah, which is
It's
what
odd how long it took for them to offer that.
it is. Because last time I looked at the full price, it was over
Yep.
$900,
I think it was 850 when I first bought it. But
and no upgrades to it. You get that version, that's it.
yeah.
Next year, if you wanted the new version, you had to pay $900 again,
Yep,
which is absolutely ridiculous.
it is.
But the smartphones, the iPhone has
Yep.
voiceover.
They work very well,
We
I think very well.
I do too, and you use your phone a lot more than I do.
I barely use my computer anymore. That's like I could still type, but I am not nearly as fast as I used.
And see, I'm faster on the computer than I am on a phone.
Yeah.
Now, Androids, I believe, is what, TalkBack?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
I'm not either. And I think it's
Did you
because,
try it?
oh yeah, I had a Android phone for a while. Because iPhones were so expensive.
The tablet they had that was like the Google Chrome or no, the Google I forget what it was called, but it was like a mini tablet, like a mini iPad.
There was a Chromebook, but I think that's their laptop.
Yeah, I forget what it was called.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name of it either. But Jesse's more comfortable with a phone, and I'm more comfortable with a computer. See, but technology has increased in leaps and bounds to allow us this. I'm assuming the Windows Phone has a screen reader. I have never.
Yeah, I don't know for sure.
And I have never talked to anyone who does. I'd be curious to find out, but
Too.
it wouldn't be enough for me to swap from my iPhone.
No, no.
Apple has gone above and beyond with accessibility. I mean, it is fantastic. And things like this, I don't know if you've noticed, but each update is better and better with like photo descriptions or something like that. They're still not there.
Mine for some reason stopped giving me like photo descriptions on Facebook. And then like randomly the last week it just started again. So I don't know what the heck was wrong with that.
Mine had stopped until this most recent update too, so maybe that's something that they were working on. I mean, we won't get into like the nitty gritty details of the screen reader, mostly because neither one of us truly understand how it works.
I'm
We
not
just
good with
know.
camera, are you? Like I know some blind people to take pictures. I can never get that to work where they say, there's a face like you're lined up and your face is in the frame or whatever. I cannot take pictures to save my life.
Oh no, I just take random pictures and like, like on a cruise ship, I'll take a picture of my toe and call it Big Toe Key or
Yeah.
something like that. And then that's kind of a funny story. I think I've told you about it. We was on a cruise and this woman had bent over beside me. Like if I had turned, her butt would have been like my nose would have like gone up her crack, you know. So I want to think it was Clint that was there. So I took my phone, angled it just right, and took a picture of her butt and posted it on Facebook, calling it Moon Over the Ocean. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, I'll do stuff like that, but as far as taking pictures of myself, no. I mean, I'm not ashamed of how I look.
Right. I tried to take a picture of the cat today for Katie, and I don't know if I got it or not.
I mean, I'm self-conscious in a way about how I look, but that comes to, how other people perceive me. And but then again, I go back to my attitude. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, I didn't need you in my life anyway.
Right, and that's I wish more I mean, I shouldn't say more people, that sounds but I wish, like, we all had that kind of attitude.
It
With,
was.
like, so many people are affected by what others say, and it's like, it doesn't they don't really matter.
It doesn't. At the end of the day, it just doesn't matter what they think
People
about
that matter will are the
like
people
you
that
or
Yep,
yeah. I mean, it boils down to if they like you, they like you. If they don't, then you don't need somebody like that in your life anyway.
exactly.
Um, but it was a bit of a transition for me to learn Jaws.
Was it
Thankfully,
hard?
yes and no. Looking back on it now, at the time, it was like I'm never gonna learn this,
Yeah,
never.
I can imagine that.
And now it's like, oh man, that was so super simple. Like why did I make
But it
it?
was like a whole new world for you at the time.
It was like, I mean,
Like, not using a mouse and using the keyboard was probably weird.
it was.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I say, and one reason that Clint and I started this podcast is that's two different worlds, Jesse.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Two totally different
And you've
worlds.
had your foot in both, so it's a unique perspective.
Exactly. And if I was to go back to being able to see now, I'd have to learn sighted
See,
all
that's what I
over again.
say. Everyone always asks me, "Do you want your vision back?" And I said, "Well, first of all, it's not back because I never really had it. If I did, I don't remember." And
Right.
it sounds like to me, for in my mind, it would be so hard to like. I'd be at a baby level, having to learn. It's not like I'd just get this the sight and the brain would just click and everything would be perfect. I'd have to learn everything. What's the
Over
front, the
again.
face?
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to learn everything.
Seems too much work for me, to be honest with you.
And I mean, we wouldn't learn how to walk again because I mean, we know how to walk, but you'd have to learn how to judge distance, being able to see, and that's something that I would have to learn again because my depth perception would not be there because I don't have the one, good eye.
Yeah.
But that brings up the question, and you somewhat answered it there, but I'm going to be a bit more blunt with it.
All right.
If there was a pill or an operation that you can take or have to give you sight, would you take it?
I don't think because I feel like I'd spend my whole life then learn. I feel like I'd have like a mental breakdown. Like if it was a computer chip or whatever that would like the computer part of it would translate like, oh, these are the letters. This is whatever. It's just the learning of everything just seems too daunting to me.
Alright, and
At
I'm
this
glad
stage.
I'm glad you mentioned the letters there because you have never seen a
No.
letter A.
Nope. Nope.
I have.
I would literally try a baby again.
Yeah, I would be able to go back to reading no
Oh yeah,
problem,
you'd be fine.
but somebody who's been a lifelong blindy,
Yep.
they've never seen the letter A. They've never seen the color blue. They've never
No.
seen a tree. Somebody can describe you what a tree looks like, but that's hard to do because you've never seen a leaf. You've probably felt a leaf,
Right, I have.
but you've never
I used to
seen.
love jumping in leaves.
Eh, we used to burn leaves a lot. Um, but that brings up this next question really good. What's that word? Segue?
Yep.
Into this question. Now, I still dream, and I know you dream. But I dream a lot in quote unquote sight because I could see at one
Uh,
time. I mean, some of the stuff's fuzzy now. Like, for instance, if I dream about, going to wild adventures with Cody or dream about, hanging out with Clint or something, I can't dream what they look like. I somewhat
You just know it's
dream
them.
yeah, I somewhat dream of what I picture them looking like, and I think that, in fact, goes back to the fact that I could see at one time. Now, when it comes to you, I know you dream,
Yep.
but
I'm always blind in my dreams. Like,
so
it's just like how I am now.
so it's all like blackness to be, to keep it simple.
Yeah,
See, now that's interesting to me because I mean I dream in colors because I've seen them,
right.
and I mean, this is like opened up a whole new world for the listeners. We're getting like 10,000 views right now. I'm imagining that, by the way.
You'll be doing your chip challenge.
Yeah, yeah, woo, that's gonna be awesome whenever it happens. Um, so in your dreams, is sound amplified, or
No,
so it's just
just
like
like
it's just normal.
yep, it's just
That
my own life.
see, that's just
Like
that's
to the point
crazy.
where when I dream about my dog, and I've told you some stories about that, but she lost a lot of weight the last few years of her life. She ended up having a infection. They never diagnosed it. But anyway, when I dream of her, she's how she was for years. Like there's no weight loss, there's nothing. She's like her. Like I don't think of her like near the end.
So would you say that you dream from memory then? Because
Probably. Like the dream isn't a memory. Like whatever situation it might be, but the things I feel and stuff like that are from memories.
and the reason I ask that is I remember seeing. So I think that's why I can dream, in with sight. Not everything, granted, but
Yeah.
a lot of it is.
But like when you said you dream of Cody and Shannon and Clint, have you seen them or
No,
not? Okay.
never.
I didn't know if Clint like you'd seen Clint if you guys went to school or something together.
No, he grew up in Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Um and let's see, if I had ever seen Cody, he would have
Been
been
little.
he'd have been 5 years old, roughly.
Could you imagine if you have
Yes, everybody who's watching, he was eating double whoppers with mayonnaise and cheese at 5 years old. Yeah, but go ahead, Jesse.
no, I was gonna say, could you imagine if you dreamt of him and it's like you're doing like going to wild adventures or doing something you guys do now, and like you see him as a little kid?
I mean, it'd be like, Cody, you got to grow up some so I can walk with you now. I mean, come on. Um,
You should have him on here sometime, or has he been on here?
no, see, you should listen. You should watch it.
I have, but I haven't listened to them all
No, it's hard, like with work schedule getting
because
kind of.
I think it would be interesting to ask him, like as a sighted person, what it's like being around, like helping a blind person and stuff like that.
Oh, we're gonna get to it.
Well, I bet you could do that with Clint though too. So,
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get to those questions, eventually. Here's another one for you though.
oh,
Now, this has changed thanks to technology. I know for me, and I'm assuming for you.
mhm.
How how do you recognize or deal with money?
um, how I would do it before, everything was debit cards. If
Sure.
I would have like a piece of plastic, I think it was, like in my wallet that would divide it into like two sections, and I'd have the fives and tens folded a different way on one side, and the ones would be unfolded loose in the other side. The
Really good.
like the tens were folded long ways, and the fives were folded the other way. I don't know what the other way is, but I remember the 10 was long ways, but I don't know what the word for the.
I've done it that way.
That's how they taught me. Like it, I went to this summer program for teenagers. That's how they taught me to do it.
See, I was never taught this. This stuff I just figured out on my own.
Yeah,
I mean, and I'm not bragging. You know me better than that.
yeah, I know, but it makes sense. Like it does make if you think about it, it does make sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And the older I get, I don't deal with cash much
No,
anymore. I
either.
just
I don't know when the last time I did was.
well, I mean, I
Maybe
have
to get a tip
some.
somewhere. Well, no, you can even do that on.
Yeah, you can do that through like the apps now or whenever you go to pay. Then debit cards and smart apps or banking apps, whatever,
Yeah,
have
technology has really made it a
a,
game changer for
a
blind.
lot more accessible.
I couldn't imagine being blind, like say even 20 years before I was born or whatever. Because I, when I was a teenagers when the technology started, so I've always kind of had it. I could imagine not having it.
So, mm, I
Well,
look
even growing up, audiobooks weren't a big thing. Like they were around, but they weren't like they are now.
exactly, and neither was descriptive video, which is how we watch movies if it's available on the actual movie. I don't know how your debit card is, but I hate the most probably two recent debit cards that I've had because the numbers aren't raised on them. Like your debit card numbered. Mine don't have it, and I hate
I
it
don't know if mine do or not, actually.
because that lets me know that's the front of the card.
Yeah.
When it's not like that, it's like, and I'm found like, because I think most of them have chips now.
Yeah, they do.
Barely feel the little indentation of the chip, but it
It's
is
chipped
there.
on the back, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Um,
I thought so too, but
but I personally like to raise numbers because
yeah.
I know that's the front of the card, and I need to protect the other side so it don't get all scratched up.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's where technology and all has changed a lot because unless I go into a restaurant with like, for instance, Shannon and I went and ate at Panera Bread yesterday. First time I ever ate at one.
Oh God, I love their food.
Well,
Expensive, but it's good.
it is good. It's not something I'd go back to a lot
Yeah.
because of the expense,
Yeah.
but it was really good. I don't think it was Chipotle chicken avocados,
Okay, I think I've had their sandwiches are so good.
and they had macaroni and cheese with bacon, so you know what I got it.
Dude, did you like it?
Oh yeah, I liked it. I hated the fact there wasn't like a gallon of it, but
I know. Yeah,
um, and I also got a free side of what was a baguette, and I
I like baguettes.
can't remember what Shannon got, but she was
Their bread bowls are really good too.
she got some kind of soup. And she was like, "Man, I'm out of bread." I was like, "Here, take the baguette." Because I mean, it is kind of hard.
It is. I like it, but it is.
Well, see, I had trouble eating hard
Right. That would be very
like
hard.
that. I mean, but I was gonna try. But whenever she said, "I'm out of bread," I said, "Here, take mine." She's like, "Man, that's yours. I'm not gonna eat it." I said,
Their
"Huh?"
chicken noodle soup and their lobster bisque are worth murdering someone for.
I'm not a fan of lobster bisque. I had it like 3 different times, just
Okay.
not crazy about it. But I said, okay, I'll eat it. So I tore off a little piece. I said, oh, that's nasty. I said, here, take it. I'm not going to eat it. Knowing the whole time I was going to give it to her anyway.
Right.
And she sat there and she's like, I hate you sometimes. I said, why? She's like, because I know you wanted it. I'm like, nah. I said, it is kind of hard.
It would be very hard to chew for you, I think. Just based on what you've told me.
It would be. I mean, if I had soup, I probably still would have gave it to her. Well, knowing me, I still would have gave it to her because you
Yeah.
know, she wanted it. And that's just my personality. People call me an a-hole, but I have a heart of gold.
They actually sell their soups in the grocery store now, and they're very like they taste exactly the same.
I may have to try that. I wish they'd sell their macaroni and
Yeah,
cheese.
I don't know if they do or not.
I need to talk to Cody about getting Walmart to order that if they do it. Um, but
So he's
that
Cody Cantori. What's his name? What's his Walmart name?
Cody
Cody
Walton.
Mart. Oh, Cody
Cody
Mart.
Walton,
Okay.
because Sam Walton
Yep. Yep.
created Walmart. Um,
Get on that, Cody.
but you know. That's really the only time I pull out my debit card is whenever I'm paying for something at a restaurant.
Yep.
Other times I put it into the apps that I use and it stays in my wallet.
Do you use the Apple Wallet? I've never used it.
No,
Or Apple Pay, I mean.
no, I don't. I know Clint and Shannon do, and I know it's accessible,
Yeah, I know it is too.
but
Never bothered.
I mean, I just don't personally use it. I mean, I could, but it's just a choice.
No reason to.
Um,
Really.
eh, this this one may be a bit of a lengthy answer. I mean, we've kind of covered it so far generically, but as we said, I saw all the way through school.
Mhm.
Um, and I can talk about college whenever, we get through with yours here. But how was schooling different for you as a lifelong?
Well, up until sixth grade.
Wait a second, we'll call you a lifer because you've been
Yes.
lifelong blind.
Yes.
You're a lifer.
Up until sixth grade, I went to school, by myself.
Uh-huh.
And when I got to sixth grade, a teacher said, and this bothered me, and it bothers me now more when I'm thinking about it. But they said they did not have time to read the board to me, what was written on the board.
That's their job.
That's what so I had a personal assistant from sixth grade till I graduated. And it didn't matter. Like, I didn't care, but excuse me, but it was kind of annoying. Like, their reasoning, father. Like, you could say what you're writing as you write it, unless like you wrote tons of notes on the board, but that would be more college than school, high school, I would think. It was just like a cop out, I felt like. It bothered me.
And that's what I'm thinking. It was just a cop out. I mean,
Yeah.
because that's their job. That's the reason people pay taxes.
Yep.
You know, for me, whenever I was in college, I carried a recorder.
Yep.
Not the musical.
Always by myself. I didn't have anybody.
Yeah, and I would record the lessons, and the teachers were really good and understanding. They'd explain like what they were writing and stuff, and when it
Teachers I found were professors were better than.
oh, 100%. 100%. I'd say more, but I can't stand people that say, I give 110%. There's no way you can give 110%. You can only give 100%.
I think I would say I go above and beyond if I thought I did more than some people, but I would never say 110%.
When it came to tests that were time, because I had a lot of those in college, did they time you or give you
No,
extra time? They didn't time
just
me.
whenever I finished it. I think.
Yeah, because and just like with a sighted person who may need to read a question, 3, 4, 5 times,
Yep.
it may take us 10 times to get all the
Oh,
aspects of the question. Because with me, Jesse, I would have the person read the question one time, like, okay, I got the gist of it. Let's go back over it again, and I
yeah.
pick up more the second time. And by
My
like,
thing was I was never timed, but sometimes I finished before time because I didn't know. Like
oh shit, a lot of times I just feel like, "Oh, I hadn't chose B in a while. Let me choose B."
that I did slack off some points more than I didn't. Like high school, I was always on a roll distinguisher. Oh, I hated math. Oh god. We even know that now because when we DM, we're like fucking math or
Yeah.
freaking math.
You let one slip. It's okay.
I did. Sorry,
It's all good. Um,
Cody can edit it.
he won't. He won't go that far. But for me, math was absolutely horrible. Yeah, because like a lot of the times, like especially when I got, you know, into the last math class I had to take, thank
Mhm.
God. A lot of it was like diagrams, like
Oh my
teacher
god.
teacher be like, well, it kind of looks like this. So I personally don't think I should have got any of the questions wrong because the teacher is saying it kind of looks like this.
How do you diagram this? How do I know? I can't.
Exactly. Um, but I mean, well, that was really like the first math class that I had to take, and the last one the teacher was really good in understanding, and then say it was like a concave kind of thing, he'd be like, "This mostly resembles 2 flashlights back to back." Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
You know,
Thankfully, the last math class I had to take was a business math, so that was good, but I hated.
I never had to do that one. I did have to take remedial math, most because I didn't care whenever.
Oh, it was simple for dummies, you'd have been alright, like.
And I say I didn't care, and not that the person reading it did a bad job, but
Yeah.
they had never dealt with somebody who was blind, so they were, like, trying to describe it, and
Oh god, that had to be awful.
honestly, Jesse, I got tired of listening. I was like, "Hey," then, I hadn't touched C in a while, and if you're ever in doubt, you see, you know,
Yep, yep.
I can't remember what I made in there, but I proved Moultrie Tech wrong. They said they had never had a blind person graduate. You know my personality by now. I basically said, "Screw you.
Yep,
I will
I'm gonna
prove you wrong."
exactly.
So I went to Valtech and, graduated there, honor society, and, also was state PBL officer. And the state PBL board wanted me to run for national officer, to showcase that, hey, just because you have a
Well,
disability,
yeah.
you know, and I was talking to the school and to the advisors about it, and they're like, well, you have to pay for it out of your pocket. Well, I ain't running then. You know, I
That
was like,
why should you have to pay for that stuff?
because the club didn't have a whole lot of money.
Uh,
Um, and I was like, well, that means I ain't running for national officer then, because I ain't.
and you saying I will modify for the show, screw you then.
Yeah. Weekend, I'm going home.
Yep.
But like with everything else, we can still do the stuff. We just have to modify it,
Right.
to fit us, and each person's gonna modify it differently. I never, and I've heard of people doing this, pulling out like say Legos, for instance,
No, I don't do
and
that either.
but they can like I get you to do this in like simple math, like you have 3 Legos over here, you add 2 over here, and then you divide it by such and such. I mean, it would
Well,
work.
that's more work. It would work, but
It's more work for me. I'll just guess. I mean, it
big
gets the job done.
yes.
Um, and we talked about this one. Here's a good one, and this will get into our, Dungeons and Dragons sessions that I know a lot of people think are evil, but
Do people still think that now even?
I think a lot of old school people do.
Huh.
I know some people at church, think it's bad, but it's a way we can gain. It keeps our imagination going,
Right.
you know.
And it
If
seems like it's in popularity again. It's
Well, yeah. I mean, and just think about it, Jesse. If I had the same feelings about D&D that, a lot of people, especially in the South, think
do.
about it, we never would have met.
Right.
And I firmly believe, and we've talked about this, I think God put us together.
Right.
I
All
mean,
I will say to those people who think it's evil is Lord of the Rings is one of the most popular, and I know you didn't care for it.
yeah.
One of the most popular fantasy books. It's written by a very staunch Christian,
And like we've talked about before,
and C.S.
eating
Lewis
too
was
much is evil. I mean, it's a sin. Not eating enough is a sin because you're not giving your body, which is the only temple of God, what it needs.
right.
I mean, anything, and I mean that anything, like THANG, can be evil. I mean,
Right.
it's what you make of it, whether it's evil or not. Now, we're running the horror campaign, and it's I wouldn't say it's not evil.
Right.
It's
When
dark.
things are very evil either.
Yeah, I mean it's dark, but that's like me somebody saying, "Oh, you shouldn't watch horror movies because that's a sin." No, I personally don't think it is. I'm not convicted not to watch them. If I was, I wouldn't watch them. I'm not though. Um, but when it comes to this question here, which is how do you imagine things that you've never seen? I mean, we somewhat touched on it earlier with the whole tree thing and stuff like
Um,
that. How do you, being a lifer, for instance, imagine what a tree looks like?
I've felled a tree before.
And
So
that
I
helps.
yeah, I just go to what I guess I just imagine what I've felt.
All right. Um, if somebody tells you, I'm trying to think of a good example here, that a cloud looks like a bunny rabbit. How do you imagine that? Have you
Um,
ever felt a bunny or held
I
a bunny?
have. Not that much, but I have.
All right. Um, trying to think of something you probably never would have felt. Uh, tell me what you imagine a saxophone looking like. Have you ever held one?
I had a toy, like a plastic toy one.
Okay, you're really screwing this question up,
I
Jesse.
know I am.
Um, alright. Have you ever held a cello?
No, but I know it's not the same, but I would think it's kind of like the shape of a guitar.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
yeah.
how it has strings.
It's like a bigger guitar that you sit on the floor. I think it's
Okay.
got a point on the bottom. I've seen them, but I wasn't a band
I would just
kid.
think of like a large guitar or something.
Yeah. Now, for instance, we talked about the tree. You have felt one, so you can somewhat imagine what they look like. But if I was to say, what do you imagine a redwood tree looking like?
Yeah, I have no. Well, I would think of redwood. They're the ones that have like a lot of bark.
I guess they have a lot of bark. I've I've never seen one in person. I just know they're
Yeah,
absolutely huge.
I just know they're big. That's all I know.
Yeah. Things like that. A lot of times, and Jesse, you can agree or disagree. We things like I have never seen before. Like
Mm.
Clint and Shannon and I were talking about this on the way home from eating, I think at Cheesecake Factory. It was either there
Oh
or
God, their food's so good there.
um I say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu restaurant. What is that? Texas Day Brazil. It was one of them trips. And I lost my train of thought. Um, where was I at? Where was I at?
You were talking to Shannon and Clint coming home from there.
Yeah, about oh yeah, like actors and actresses. And I'll say Sarah Michelle Gellar, for instance, Buffy, since they're coming back
Right.
out with Buffy, and
Right.
I'm super excited. You've never seen her
No, I would just go by the voice.
by the voice. Now, I have seen her, but I'm trying to think of an actress. I don't know names that
Mm.
good, but we'll say like ah, what was his name that played Joker? Heath, was it
Heath
Heath
Ledger.
Ledger? And say for instance, they're trying to describe him to me like, or somebody, oh, he looks like Heath Ledger. I've never seen Heath Ledger. They're
Right.
like, oh, so to me, whenever they try to describe what somebody looks like, they have to go pre-rec for me to try to come
Mm.
up with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And bless their hearts, they're really, really good about it, and it's weird because you just go by the voice, and I go
Right.
by the voice now,
Yeah.
but it's like if I really want to know like somewhat what somebody looks like, you have to go pre-November 25th of 2000. And that's not always easy. So I've gotten to the point where it's like I don't really care. Their voice is either
Right.
good
Yeah.
or or,
Right.
or not. Um, but uh, here's 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 a good one. What is something that you think sighted people take for granted that hold on. that you wish they would understand about being blind? I can read that again if I need to.
No, not everyone does this, but I wish that the people that do would realize we're just blind, we're not deaf, because some people think they have to scream very loud at us.
Yeah, like we can't understand. Now, in my instance, they do have to talk louder because of the typical blind person.
I had a substitute um, um, personal assistant one day, and she's like, "Do you have your book?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." And like, I made a point to talk as quietly as I could, and she's all day. Where are you going next? I'm just like, you don't have to freaking yell.
And it makes you feel inept or
It does. Yep.
pointed out
Right.
or the focus when you and I don't want to be the focus, while
Right.
in other cases there are blind people that, hey, look at me.
Yep. Yep. Oh, yeah.
That's not us. Not at all.
No, I've come in contact with some of those people.
The one thing, and this is, kind of goes off what you said. The one thing I wish I could change is that I'm the same. I just can't see.
Right. That is what it boils down to. You are the same. You just
Yeah. I mean, I know you personally don't cook. I mean, you may heat up stuff in the microwave and
yeah.
stuff, but I cook.
Right.
And just because I can't see doesn't mean I can't cook
Right.
and,
Yep.
do for myself. There's some things that I'm not crazy about cooking, but I still can.
Yeah.
You know, we can work normal jobs. I mean, granted, I wouldn't ride in our Uber car or our taxi car if we weren't
No.
doing them, but the
I
thing
wouldn't
is,
have us be a pilot
right. You know, the thing is, and people need to understand this is,
or a brain surgeon.
I don't know, some people don't have one, so you wouldn't have to worry a whole lot, but granted, there are certain jobs that physically, visually, whatever words you want to use here, we simply cannot do.
Right.
But being a chef can do it. Coffee, what do they call them? Baristas?
Yep.
We can do that. You know, in theory, there's a way that we could be waiters or waitresses.
The
You know,
sad thing is, I bet places would never hire you though.
that's the problem. I mean, you live in a bigger city than what I do,
I still don't think they take a chance. Well, it's not that big here, actually.
but
a
it's
small.
bigger than here.
Oh, okay. I don't think they'd ever take a chance.
That's the problem. It's because they had the misconception. Oh, they're disabled. No,
They can't.
I'm just blind.
Right.
I'm just blind. You know, yeah, I'd have to get a ride to work. That's not as big a problem as it is getting someone to give a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's being the secretary can do that. Being the
Yep.
teacher can do that.
Yep.
I mean, you know, any pretty much, I won't say any job, pretty much any job can be modified. Not that it's going to change the job, it just changes the way that we would do the job.
Right. Yes.
And there's such a misconception out there of people that, oh, they're blind, they can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but you hired that person in a wheelchair. Well, yeah, they can see. Well, tell them to get up and give me a buggy then at Walmart. They can't. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just,
But it's true though.
yeah, it is. Anything. And, within reason. Again, you said like the surgeon, I said the taxi driver.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying,
We could be a Walmart greeter. And the other reason I say it is, how would we know when someone walks in?
well, you can hear the doors.
Right, but that could also be like someone leaving.
True, but there's like two sides.
Oh, yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, that's true. There is. You're right.
In fact, I've been told that if they still had Walmart greeters, that they would hire me in a heartbeat.
Oh,
The
I
pro-
thought they still do.
no, ours doesn't.
Oh,
I mean, you couldn't be the person like checking receipts as they
Right.
exited Walmart.
right. Yeah.
Because Cody and Clint and I are all joke around. Yeah, somebody will be walking out with like a 70-something inch TV. Yeah, here's your receipt. Oh, okay. I mean,
Right.
keep on going. But there's ways to modify. There's cash registers that you can get that will talk. I mean, it makes me mad, Jesse. I know we've talked about it.
Yeah, I know.
Give us a chance.
Right.
Yeah. Here's another one, and this one really bothers me. And I know, well, we've pretty much talked about everything, but this one is: do you get tired of people offering to help, or do you appreciate it?
I would appreciate it, and it doesn't happen that much because I'm always with someone,
Yeah.
but I would always if yeah, that's one of those things I would always be just happy that someone asked. It would never bother me,
See, on me, on the
but
other
I think
hand,
I'm rare in that respect.
yeah. For me, I'd rather them offer help than me have to ask
Yeah.
for something.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for instance, last this past Sunday at church, somebody fixed me a cup of coffee. Clint and Shannon had to work. They've gotten really good about here's this, because they
Yeah.
know the struggle that I have with asking for help. And that's because how I was raised to do stuff yourself. You know, if I was to learn where we have the coffee and all that at church, I could get it myself.
Yeah.
But there's usually a lot of people in and out and a lot of kids. So I would
It's
still
not
be
really feasible though, to be honest with you.
right. So, I mean, I finished my cup. I wanted another cup, but I didn't ask anybody. And that's not their fault. That's my fault. That's a me thing. You know,
But, like, to me, the way I'm thinking of it is the person that made you that cup should have circled back around.
I won't say they should have, um, because come on, I wish,
I'm
they
just
would.
thinking of, like, people in my own life would have, is all I'm saying.
I can see that. I mean, and I disagree, but I agree at the
But that
same
person's
time.
not in your life either, though. They were just that's true.
Right. I mean, it's not like we have a very tight
Right. Yeah,
relationship,
yeah.
and you know, somebody said something like I can't remember what they said. I was like, "Yeah, I had a cup," and they said, "Would you like another cup?" And
Oh, okay.
I'm like, "Yeah, I would," you know. And
Yeah.
sitting there and talking with the preacher's wife last night, after I had gotten done doing stuff, and yeah, me and him were talking, and he said, "I hear what you're saying." I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "But the Bible tells us if you ask not," I can't remember the verse. Basically, it boils down to if you don't ask, you don't receive. He says, and while I'm talking about this, he said, "Do you realize that you're robbing them of a blessing? Because if they know you, they know your situation, they know you don't like to ask. So
Mhm.
therefore, it's a blessing for them to do it for you, and they know you're
Yeah.
not gonna take advantage of it."
Right. Right.
So, I mean, we had a good conversation about that and other topics as well. Well, then his daughter came and sat down, Miss Kimmy, and we started talking, and red velvet cake is my favorite cake. I mean, cheesecake's number
Oh.
1 overall, and we were serving that last night, and I was like she's like, "Yeah, there everybody's fixing boxes." I was like, really don't care about the other stuff as long as I get some red velvet cake." And she said,
Uh-huh.
"Let me get up and get you some. I'll go put your name on it." I said, "No, you don't have to do that." And her daddy hit me on the leg. He said, "You're robbing her of a blessing." And I just sat there and I said, "Yes, sir, I know." I said, "But 40 years, or 25 since I've been blind." I said,
Uh-huh.
it's a hard habit to break." He said, "You know how to break a habit?" I said, "Some of them, yes, sir." And he said, "You have to start with one, don't you?"
Uh-huh.
And I just sat there like,
He's right.
that's wisdom. That's wisdom
Yeah.
right there. So I mean, I'm working on it. And
Yeah.
people that know me know I've been working on it for a while because it's not an easy thing to break something
Uh-huh.
like that. Um, and here, is there anything else you'd like to put on? to that, like, of the asking for help or, hearing the
Not
people
really.
offer.
It doesn't bother me if people like even when I was thinking that too, like when you said that, like if I would be out by myself, would I mind if people asked if I need help getting somewhere? I know some blind people don't like that, but I'm always I don't want to say honored, but I'm always happy if someone like thinks enough to ask, "Do you need help with something?"
Yeah, and I mean, I live so far out of from
I
the
was looking at it
city.
more that way than like how you were saying about the coffee and stuff like that. I thought you meant like if you're out on your own, does it bother you? People are just like, "Here, let me help you."
Well, see, that's me with like the whole coffee scene and
Yeah,
other stuff,
same. Yeah,
associated with that
yeah,
because I live so far out from town that
right,
I had to get somebody to carry me to town anyway.
right, yeah.
So I'm with somebody there, and that's another reason I don't use the white cane too because
Because you're always with somebody.
yeah, I'm always with somebody. And we kind of talked this about this whenever we were talking about the actors and like things you haven't ever seen. How how do you experience attraction or know if someone is attractive? Would you like to think about that while I talk about it a little bit from like my two sides of the
I think
fence,
we're
I guess?
both gonna say the same thing, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, of course, whenever I could see it was who had the biggest boobs, the nicest butt, and the best body, but that's a young human. Yeah, it's a young.
But still that, but now he just has to reach out to see. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, um, but for me, it was like who was physically attractive, but the older I got, and this was even in school, I mean, yeah, I'd still look at somebody like, yeah, they're attractive. Then you'd meet them, and it's like, that
No,
chick is ugly as sin, because of their attitude. And granted, you get some people who are both physically attractive and their character is very appealing as well. Me now, I go off somebody's personality, and I mean, I like voices, whether their voice is attractive to me.
there's some people you're just like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care how quote unquote hot you look, if you sound like you've been smoking cigars and chugging
Ex-
down, whiskeys and thumbtacks, it's like, nah, because I'd have to hear you a lot.
Right. Perfect
But
example of that is I've always been told, and I know she acted and like did that voice on purpose. The lady that played the nanny, I've always been told she was very attractive,
she
but not
was,
that voice. Eh,
she was, and I mean, physically attractive, yes, but voice, no. I'd be like, that's when I'd probably punch my other eardrum, you know. But I mean, I go by voices. First of all, I go by the personality now.
right.
And then I go by voices. For instance, I mean, I personally think that Shannon is highly attractive. I'm not attracted to her, but her personality is absolutely beautiful. You know, to me, the preacher's wife is absolutely beautiful. I don't have a clue what she looks like, but her
Right.
personality is attractive. Not that
No,
I'm attracted to them,
no.
but that's the way I look at it now. And I've come across some people whose voices are like, "Hey," and then they start act or not acting, but you
You
see
see
their
their personality.
personality, and
Yeah.
it's like the voice is "Hey," and their personality is like "Bye."
No.
You know,
Exactly.
but how do you, because I know you're engaged and you've dated and things like that. How how does that work for you being a lifer?
I'm going to basically say the same thing you did. It starts out with a voice, and then once I get to know the person, like, and this sounds awful, and I shouldn't say this, but if someone's voice is like, "Meh," I don't know if I'll bother just because I will have to hear that person all the time.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. You know, personality is what I look for first now.
Right. Yeah.
You know, for instance, and she'll probably beat me up for saying this. Jessica, that I went to the Valentine's
Yeah.
thing with. Um, I've known her since she was 4 weeks old. She's changed a lot, and
But do you feel safe? Is she really like, does she beat you and stuff? Do you need help?
no,
This is a safe space.
I'd take her out. I already took her out one time. It was just to a Valentine's supper. Um, I think her personality and her voice are very attractive.
Mhm.
You know, I would not have thought that years ago because 25, she would have been like 7, 8-ish. I couldn't look at a kid and think, that's sick. I mean, that's utterly sick. But I mean, I don't care if she has blue hair, blonde hair, brown hair. Don't care about the eyes. It's how you treat me, basically.
Right.
And I just think that way. And I think maybe a lot of blind people, Jesse. I don't know if you think this, but I think they probably go the same way.
I think most probably would.
I
I would
mean,
think.
we both know somebody who has been married like 2 or 3 times.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say names, but and I don't see how they got with somebody because of their attitude.
I agree with you 100%.
And
It makes me wonder what was those people's at what wait, why am I
and it's the MS again.
it makes me wonder what the attitudes were like of the women that this person married.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
'Cause their attitude is not great, I don't think.
and while I am blunt and an a-hole, um, or that's what people call me, I think I have a great personality. I've
That
been told that.
yes. That's how you described yourself, sir.
It is because that's what people think that I am.
Right.
Just because I am blunt and I tell you what I'm thinking because I'm not going to skirt around stuff. But, everybody again is going to be differently. There's going to
Mhm.
be some common ground. There's going to be some way out there thinking. Like I've talked to some blind people who, it's like I want somebody with brown hair. Why? You can't see their hair. That doesn't make sense to me.
No.
I mean and me being short. Well, I'm 5'8" ish, 5'7" ish, 5'8" ish, somewhere in there.
Darn MS.
I know. I I'm not saying I wouldn't date somebody who's taller than me, but me like walking like into preferring to walk with somebody, I would rather have
It would be
somebody
harder.
my height.
Yeah.
You know, but that's just a personal preference. It doesn't have to be. That's just the way I would go. But um, y- and I've been on a couple of dates, but you've been on more dates since you're a lifer. What's it like? And we'll close with this question because I'm sure the podcast is getting long. I'll check the time as soon as you start talking. But what's it like going on a date with a blind person? Like you being blind going on a date with somebody else.
Um, it's depends on the person, on how they are.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm just thinking the 2 people that I would say or 3, I guess, that I would say I was in a long-term relationship with, including Katie, did it handled it very well, the blindness and everything. There were some that I could tell when we met for the first time that, like, I don't think this is gonna be their thing, and it's kind of awkward. Like, I have to get to know a person first. Like, there's no, like, "Oh, we're gonna send a couple messages back and forth for, like, a week and then meet." I usually talk to someone for a good month, I'd say, before we would ever meet. just because of things being different and the blindness and things, just to see how they would handle all that.
Have you ever had, because I've had this, somebody say that they can't date you because you're blind?
No.
I have
Um,
twice.
yeah, that's awful. To me, like, I've made it known up front, so, like, if I even would put it in my profile, so, like, unless you're Katie, who never read my profile and was stunned when I said I was blind, that's a joke or thing we talk about all the
Well,
time.
that's why she started dating you and got engaged to you, because she didn't read all about you to begin with.
Exactly.
Nothing to do with the blindness.
But, like, I try to put it front and center because, like, I mean, that's fine if you don't wanna, but I don't wanna even start a conversation if, like, that's a no-go.
Right. I mean, I've even, and I've told you this before, I had somebody say that, they couldn't date me because of my face.
That was awful.
Yeah.
That was the blindness thing, whatever, you're closed-minded, whatever, but the face thing is just mean.
It is, but that goes back to my personality. I didn't need them in my life anyway.
Right, no, exactly, but that's still, when you told me that time, that pissed me off.
It does me too, but it's it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we're gonna close this out here, and just let everybody know there's over 7 million blind people in the United States of America.
How did not know that?
Yes.
There's more blind people in the United States than have MS.
Dang. So you're like in the minority. You got both of them.
I think there's 2.5 million with MS, and it's even less in men, so I'm really in the minority.
You need to buy a lottery ticket, sir.
I'll never win.
But it's like 7,300,000 something thousand. I know it's over 7 million, and in the entire world, there's like no, it's over 20. I think like 46 million.
Wow.
So with all of that said, you're going to get a variety of differing opinions on these questions.
Because we're not all one blind does not fit all.
Exactly. We're not the mold, and if there is a mold, I broke it November 25th of 2000.
That was kind of clever. One blind fits all, does not fit all.
Yeah, I had to give you that one. That's your one good idea for the year.
Yep, I'll take it.
You used it in February. You got 10 months to go.
Oh God. Yeah.
Um, but you're gonna get different opinions. You're gonna get different answers to these questions, and I'm gonna keep these questions and get other blind people on here that I can quote unquote wrangle up. So you're going to get different answers. You're going to get some of the same answers. You're going to get ways where people, maybe adapt or edit a little bit of this to fit their needs. Like somebody who's blind and in a wheelchair is going to do things a lot differently than what Jesse and I do. It's life.
I should know this, but do you know any other lifers that are blind? Like the ones that are like Steven is pretty much
Steven's kind of like me. He lost his son.
right, and Mitch is low vision, I think.
I'm sure I do. I just can't think of any names off the top of my head.
Like so I was thinking most of the ones I know were like, look at Maxine or anybody really in our D&D. I don't know if there was any.
Right.
Philip had seen, right?
Yeah, he could see at one time. I'm sure I can think of some. I just can't think of them right now.
The most people that we know seems like they were more on your line of the spectrum than mine.
I think that's a lot of them, actually. I need to search around, and maybe you can ask people, and I can ask people, and we can get them on the podcast here. But let me close out this by saying again, check out Stumpy Security Agency. He may only have one leg, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't have 2 feet in the security business. Well grounded. Be sure to check him out on Facebook. Stumpy Security Agency. I want to thank everybody for listening. And Jesse, I want to thank you for joining in on the podcast.
Oh, sure, anytime.
Giving us your perspective here.
Yeah.
We'll probably have you back again at some point in time.
Yeah,
Whenever you think about somebody blind or see somebody blind, or if you're a boss looking to hire someone and you have an applicant who's blind, remember this: they're just like you. except they can't see. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube, give us a rate, a review, a share, join us on Facebook, and be sure to tell everybody about it. This has been Jesse, and I'm Richard, and this has been Sighted to Sightless. See you later, people.